Hello chicos, today we're gonna do divisibility, review the rules of divisibility. So remember that divisibility means if a number can be divided by another number or not. So the rules are very simple. A number is divisible by 2 if the last digit is 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. So you just have to look at the last digit. Let's say we have this number. We look at the last digit. If it is 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, it's divisible by 2. If it's not, like in this case, then it's not. It's not divisible by 2. The rule for 3 is that you have to add all the digits of the number. And if the sum is 3 or a multiple of 3, then it is divisible by 3. So in this example, if I add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1, then that would be 7. And 7 is not a multiple of 3. For that reason, this number is not a multiple of 3 either. For 5, we just have to look at the last digit. And if it's 5 or 0, then it's divisible by 5. And again, in this case, the last digit is 1, so it would not be divisible by 5. And then the last one is 10. And we look at the last digit again. And if it is 0, then it is a multiple of 10. So in this example, that it would not be divisible by 10 either. So let's look at this example. They give us 3 different numbers, and we have to decide if it's divisible by 2, by 3, by 5, and by 10. So let's look at the last digit. So it's 8. Since it is 8 and is one of our numbers here, the number is divisible by 2. It's an even number. For 3, we have to add, and the sum is 15. So in this case, it is divisible by 3 as well. Then to see if it's divisible by 5, we look again at the last digit, which is 8. So it's not divisible by 5, and it's not divisible by 10 either, because it does not finish on 0 or 5. All right, let's look at the next number. Again, to see if it's divisible by 2, we look at the last digit, which is 0, and here is 0 in our list. So it is divisible by 2. To see if it's divisible by 3, we just have to add the digits. And in this case, the answer is 6. And 6 is a multiple of 3. So that number is divisible by 3. Then for 5 and 10, we look at the last digit again. And since it finishes in 0, it's divisible by 5 and by 10. In the last example, we look at the last digit again. And since it's 5, it's not one of the numbers here on the list. So it's not divisible by 2. It's not an even number. To see if it's divisible by 3, we add all the digits of the numbers. And in this case, it will be 10. And 10 is not divisible by 3. It's not a multiple of 3, so the number is not divisible by 3. Then we look and see if the last number is 5. So it is divisible by 5. But it's not 0, so it's not divisible by 10. Let's look at this example. We have, in this case, they're asking just if they're divisible by 3. So all we do is add the digits in each one of them. In this case, 6 plus 6 is 12, and 12 is a multiple of 3. So 66 is divisible by 3. In the next example, we do the same and add all the digits. And in this case, it is 12. And 12 is also a multiple of 3. So the number is divisible by 3. Now in this case, if I add 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, the answer in 4 is not a multiple of 3. So in this case, 1,111 is not divisible by 3. All right, let's look at the next example. In this one, it says, which of the following numbers is divisible by 2, 5, and 10? So we have to do kind of like what we did in the first example, which is look at each number and decide if it is divisible by each one of those numbers or not. Since the number is 6, is an even number, it is divisible by 2. Now, it does not end on 5 or 0, so it's not divisible by 5 or 10. We do the same thing with 38, and 38 finishes on 8, so it is divisible by 2, but it's not divisible by 5 or by 10. Notice that we just have to look at the last digit. That's all we have to do for this exercise. And so in this case, it is divisible because it finishes in 0. It is divisible by 5 because it finishes in 0. And it is divisible by 10 because it finishes in 0. In the next one, 225, we look at the last digit and it's not an even number, so it is not divisible by 2. It is divisible by 5, but it's not divisible by 10 because it does not end on 0. And the last one here, 111, 1 is the last digit, and for that reason is not divisible by 2, 5, or 10. And that's it. A very simple lesson. Just remember and memorize the rules for divisibility. Do the exercises in the practice set and have fun.